Holy bejesus, this thing is massive. Alright, hey everybody, welcome to the Random Toy Review. I'm recording this on a Sunday during the weekend when the storm, the winter storm, is absolutely crazy. And there is like, how many feet of snow outside? Like 2 to 14 feet? No, that doesn't sound right. Inches, I think. I don't know. Anyway, since I am pretty much barricaded inside and have nowhere to go, I will record an RTR on a really cool Bionicle set. This right here is called Baranus V7. Set number is 8994, and it was released in 2009, part of the Glatorian vehicle wave. And, alright. So, the story is that the Baranus V7 here is the name of the chariot's vehicle. It was used by the Rock Tribe during the Core War, and they were mostly destroyed after the shattering, but a few remain. There's your little lore dump. Now, this set here is actually a three-parter. So what I'm going to do, and guys, it is very big. I don't know if I'll be able to get all of it on screen here without looking a little unprofessional here, but I'm going to take it apart and do it at a time. So we'll start with, I guess, the rider here. I'm being careful with it because some of it looks a bit fragile. Anyway. Stand up. Stand up. Alright. In fact, let me get something real quick and don't bump the camera. Alright. Quick adjustment. So this right here is the rider. Now, the set is called Baranus. The Baranus is the name of the vehicle. The rider here and the other creature are not named in the set, but if you look up the lore on Bionicle Wiki, they do have names. So this guy right here, his name is Samad, and he is part of the Iron Tribe. See, there's a bunch of elemental tribes on Bar Magna, formerly Spherus Magna. And one of them, there's like the Rock Tribe, Fire Tribe, Water Tribe, that kind of stuff. There used to be one called the Iron Tribe, but they were all annihilated and destroyed by a dream-eating monster whose name is, I think it's Anona, that's her name. So there's like very few survivors, if any, of what was, I guess, the Dreaming Plague. This guy, Samad, is one of them. And that's all I really know about him. I guess we'll do a zoom in on the face. I did review a 2009 Bionicle set, Stronius, so you should be familiar with the heads there. If you take off the helmet, that is what they look like underneath. It's translucent. They come in a couple colors. Red's the most common one. It very famously looks like Iron Man. A lot of the Bionicle community for years have called it the Iron Man head. But his helmet here is this kind of like, almost looks like a football helmet, you know? It goes right on top right there. And it now looks pretty neat. I'm okay with it. I can just do a pan down of his whole body. He's using the Agori build. See, story-wise, Samad here is not a Glatorian. He's one of the smaller people called like the Agori. But if you compare him to, I have another Agori here. Like here's Metis. He's a little taller and a little more intricate than your normal Agori set. For starters, I'll go ahead and remove his weapons actually, because you can do that. Because the 2009 sets introduced these fist pieces. So you can kind of take them out and they look like actual hands with fingers, you know, not the normal stubs that they used. But there is stuff that make him a little more intricate than the Agori one. He's using these longer leg pieces, which, by the way, because it is from 2009, they are kind of cracked. That's a real bad one, so I'm being real careful with them. But he's actually not using, like for example, most of them, Metis here, for example, use these Tomata feet that are one single piece of plastic. he's using the toe metro feet here. So there's a little more build going on to him. And you can see his arms here have these weird armor on them. Not sure what you'd call that. But again, they didn't have to do that, but they did. It looks nice. On the back of him, you have, it's like a skull. You can say one. I guess this is part of the play feature of the game that pretty much every 2009 set had. It's like a life meter. I don't know, it's a complicated game. I don't remember all the rules, but you would have like the canisters in your original sets, and you'd shoot at each other with the thorn axes, which I'll get to in a minute. But before I do that, I'll go over articulation. Now, the downside to being the Agori build, or what was started off as the Aventurum build, is that there is no elbow articulation and no knees. So you got your head, shoulders, I guess thighs, ankles, and wrists, but no elbows or knees, which is pretty, I mean, you can do some stuff with it, but it is pretty limited. Now, for accessories, he has this little tentacle here, which is supposed to be a whip, because he rides a chariot, so he like whips the creature to make it go faster. You know what it is. And he also has this thing, which is like a big sword, but it has a thorn axe launcher attached to it. There's the thorn axe. Again, I think in the story, thorn axes are like a spiky fruit that are used as ammunition. It basically works like this. Focus camera, you clamp down on these, and fires like that. Pretty cool in my opinion. So, put it in there. It doesn't really matter which hand you put it in, but I mean the instructions have you put the launcher in his right hand, like that. And then the whip in his left hand. So that is your complete Samad. Looking pretty cool. Alright, I'm going to put him off to the side here. And we're going to get out part 2 of this 3-part set, which is the actual Baranus V7 vehicle. It's a big chariot. Alright, I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit. It's like this gladiator type chariot. So, here's the front of it. Basically how it works is the rider stands right here. This part guards them, goes forward. A chain attached to the creature. It is mostly, as you can see, mostly gunmetal gray and like silver, which is not a bad color scheme. Am I zooming out of the way? Yeah, I am. It's got a lot of jagged edges on it, like right here. That's a little sharp edge. This is actually really cool. I think like in actual gladiator chariots, these right here would be like debilitating weapons. So like, so the person's riding it, and then there'd be another person right here, and as it's going through, these parts here would like cut through their feet and like disarm them, or basically, or like disleg them or whatever, cut them down. That's a pretty neat feature. Looks like from the back. Again, these wheels, they're not, the front wheels roll pretty good. Like the front wheels roll pretty good. The back wheels, not so much. They're kind of stiff. But I mean, you can probably just like loosen them a bit. See, can I? That's a little better. I don't want them too loose because then it might fall apart. What's interesting is that these spikes up here go up and down. Perhaps maybe to protect the rider. I don't know. It's interesting. But that's basically all there is to the chariot itself. It's pretty cool looking. So the third and final piece of this set is the creature. This thing's pretty cool. Now, this thing is called a spigot. Yes, its name is a spigot. Well, it's a spigot. This thing doesn't have a proper name itself. That's what the species is. I don't know much about it, about its origin or what its biology is like, but it's a big two-headed creature. I guess I'll zoom in on the heads. There they are. They look pretty cool. That is a pretty neat, pretty creepy face right there. In fact, actually, I'll take it off. What it's using the Glatorian head, both these two eyepieces on the side, to make the actual eyes. In fact, move it out of the way. The helmet itself is actually, if you turn it around, there's another face on it. There is another Bionicle set. It was the rider for his name, but the rider for the Scopio set used this piece in yellow for his helmet, and this was his front face. So it's a good way to use the same piece for two uses. There are some other helmets in the Glatorian vehicle sets that use that, and then they even adopted that practice into Hero Factory with some of the fire villains. So that's pretty cool. Get on. However, I will not lie. It does make it awkward, because if it looks up too far, you can see like the humanoid mouth down there. Now that looks a little weird. But you see, this thing is mostly green. So the set is multicolored, which is really cool, because there's a lot of pieces for mocking, and it makes the set look more interesting and not just bland in one color. There's also, again, jagged edges on this creature here. This really cool piece right here is like a spine or whatever. Articulation on this guy is way better. So you have bendable knees and elbows in both limbs. Right here, and a double jointed head, because he has a separate neck. In fact, this thing can actually stand up. The box on the back of it does advertise standing up on its hind legs. So I'll just do this real quick. And voila, yeah, he is pretty tall. He goes up pretty tall, I'm not gonna lie. In fact, if we bring in Samad himself, I mean, wow. Damn. And if we bring in Metis here, I mean, just like, damn. Anyway, that's about it for the spigot. Anything else I want to go over on that? I can't think of anything at the moment. I'll go ahead and put him back down in his four-legged state, which is probably most common. Again, I guess the other problem with him is that the joint pieces, the socket pieces, are brittle because they're more thin. Because that was a problem with all socket pieces from 2008 through 2010. So that is rather unfortunate. But again, this thing, I just like the way it looks, you know. It's probably my favorite part of the set. Anyway, and as you can see on his back here, on his butt, there is a black peg right here on one side. That's where the chariot connects. So I'll go ahead and show you how to how to put the whole set together. So we'll bring the chariot here, and we'll take Samad. And how it works is, obviously, there's holes in his feet. There's these pegs here. The instructions tell you to do it this way, but you guys can do it anyway. I'll show you how the instructions do it. So on his right foot, this far peg, this hole here, goes into the blue peg, kind of like that. And then on his left foot, this all same far left hole goes into the right here, that side. So here he is, and the big chain connects to the creature via this peg here. So you just plop it on, don't get tangled, and there you go. It cannot fit on the screen. It is too big for the whole screen. But I'll give you a demonstration. Yeah, you just, obviously he would, man, his Samad's socket joints in his legs are pretty, they're They're a little loose, but he would whip it like this, whip, and off he goes. Pretty neat stuff, and I'll show you here what I mean. Well, I showed you earlier with I didn't know what it originally meant when I had it as a kid, but the these things here, they can kind of go up as like a better protection for the rider to kind of block him from firepower. So I think that's what those are for, even though they're never explained. At least I haven't found an explanation for them. And that seems to be about it. I think don't bump the camera. I know he's a big boy. But yeah, I've basically shown you the entire set. That is the Baranus V7. I like it quite a bit. It's a really good display feature for your shelf. Play feature, there's a lot, because you get three things. You get a character here, and you can attach, as long as they have the toe measure feet. So like you can attach any character to this thing. I mean, as long as they have that feet. So like theoretically here, you could take Nuju here and put him on. You know, you could do anything really. Or if you get creative enough, you could put Hero Factory sets or Bionicle G2 sets that use those shoe-like pieces. You know, you can do anything. It's Lego. You know, and again, you can. Saw himself makes a really good figure, and there's just so much to it because it's three things. You can do a lot of stuff with the spigot. It's just a really interesting set, and I just love the way it looks. I definitely recommend getting it.